Welcome to Seesar Gear. Today we're talking about the Soma Labs Messeiver. And this is a device that is effectively a shortwave radio, but it has had the tuning capabilities removed. And instead, what you get is all the frequencies it can pick up all at once. And that doesn't mean it has all the frequencies all at once. It means that you have multiple stations that you'll hear overlaid on top of each other, and they'll blend into each other, and it's entirely, I like to talk on my hands. It's entirely dependent on the weather. It's dependent on clouds. It's dependent on rain. It's dependent on temperature. It's dependent on how the Schumann frequencies bouncing around the earth. There's all kinds of things that come into play. And that means that you're going to pick up local stuff. You're going to pick up things that aren't local. You're going to pick up noises, and it's going to ebb and flow and be what they call in the manual irrational. And it is, which is fantastic. And I'm going to say that this may or may not sound like something that you'd want to add to your arsenal, but I find it to be fabulous, like absolutely fabulous, because I can work with it as a background. I can work with it as a pad or a bass. I can work with it performatively. And it's been an absolute pleasure to noodle around with and incorporate into my soundscapes. And I definitely recommend it. I will say it's a pretty penny. I believe, I don't have my invoice in front of me, but I think I paid around $700 for this. And that's a lot of money. It was a big decision to buy this guy. For me, I'm not that rich. But I was able to justify it once I got my hands on it. Now that I have it and have played around with it, I'm super pleased, and it's here to stay. I'm not getting rid of this puppy. This is great. So I'm going to jump straight to the controls and the features, and because I want to make some noises. I want to spend some time actually talking about how you make the noises, and then let's see what we can pick up, because it is literally different every time. I think the biggest beauty of the Messeiver is the messiness. The messiness is, in fact, the idea that you have all these things happening at once and you have no idea what you're going to get every time. So to me, that's exciting. I like the unpredictability. I like the ever-changing aspect of it. And so for me, it's wonderful to incorporate. So, okay, so let's do the thing that I like to do, the controls. And I've also, this isn't necessarily all controls, it's features as well. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to start with something that you can't see. On the back, you have power supply. You got a DC power supply if you want to hook it up to a guitar pedal power board, but you also have an AC power supply if you want to use the cable that comes with it, which is what I have right now, which I prefer only for the fact that it helps pick up certain radio frequencies sometimes if you have it connected to your house or studio or something. And it also has an input and output. Now, the input is a trick, because as far as I understand, the input doesn't add anything to it. I haven't tried it. I should say this, I haven't tried it, but I don't think the input is anything more than using this speaker. There is a built-in speaker, and when you use the input, it just channels something to the speaker, I believe. And I probably should have checked on that, but I think that's all there is to it. The output, however, obviously goes to whatever you want it to. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment going to a little spring reverb that's right off the top of the speaker. And I have it at the moment the side here. I don't have it in the screenshot just because I wanted a nice frame of the instrument while we talk about it. But I do run the Messeiver from either directly into a spring reverb or reverb of any sort, or to a noise gate and then a reverb, because I might want to emulate a spirit portal, which is a ghost hunter setup where you use radio frequencies, and it allows for truncation of certain frequencies. It allows for scanning of certain, scanning through several frequencies. And so you get a, if you're using a spirit box, which is what they're called, not to be confused with the Frank's box, you get a repetitive pulsing of frequencies as they scan through, and then they are filtered, and then they're put through reverb for clarification purposes, supposedly, but in my opinion, it just makes it these cool, crazy sounds. So I like to do that with radio signals in general, and the Messeiver is, in fact, a bunch of radio signals. So it works well to run it through spring reverb like I have, or put it through a noise gate first and then run it through the spring reverb. Both of those are pretty fun. On the front, we have a set of controls, a volume knob, and then a set of antennas. And the antennae are pretty straightforward, really, but they take a little tiny bit of explaining. So the one at the bottom down here is a ground, and it's something you can use to create different levels of noise or static or whatnot, and sometimes improve your signal. Now I don't have it connected now. I should have done it. I have a literal ground, a ground that's a wire from outside my window down 2 floors to the ground, to a metal stake that I've shoved in the dirt. And I could connect that to this and get like a true ground, which might increase the signal reception. I'm not sure. I should definitely try that. But at the second, I don't have it on because I kind of wanted a buzz, and I kind of wanted some different signals that I'm getting without the ground on. And then the antenna are split into 2. There's 3 poles here, but the 2 at the top are for the top section, and the 2 at the bottom are for the bottom section. Or the one at the bottom is the bottom section. So it's ground plus something else, or however you want, whatever combination works to get you the signals that you want to hear. I'm also doing a little bit of a cheating trick. I don't know if you can see the alligator clips if my hand's not in the way. The alligator clips are attached to really, really, really long wire that I'm using for antenna that come with the Messeiver. You get these as part of the package. And I found out that if you clip them to the buttons, to the switches on the front, you can get different signals. These act as different types of antenna lengths or something, and it works interestingly. So you actually have multiple places where you can clip onto and get some different receptions. Now this guy over here doesn't seem to be conductive. I'm not sure what they've got going on here. It looks like brass, but it doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot when I use it for an antenna. So maybe that's just me, or I'm doing something wrong, but just stick to these guys is what I'm at least going to do for me. So you have 2 different setups here. You have 2 different types of circuits. Now, one of them is called the Namu, and one is the Saturn. I think they just wanted to give them some cool names. Basically, you have 2 different sets of ranges, and you have within that controls over the ranges, so you can click back and forth and get different brackets within those ranges. And then you have a filter. This first knob here is a filter. You have an all pass band, like all bands are okay at the top, and then you have a high pass filter to cut some of the hiss. And I typically leave that on, but sometimes it works in the middle of the night or something to turn that on and get a different range of frequencies, and that's pretty fun. And then the other two are, I'm not sure if I'm going to describe this correctly because it's a little bit hard to tell from the manual that doesn't actually explain much. It for many, many pages of a manual, it sort of doesn't tell you exactly what's going on. But I guess that's kind of the point, is that they want you to guess and explore. But they're going to give you different ranges of power and different expectations of cloud level and that kind of thing, like what you might encounter during the day versus what you might encounter at night, so that you can get different things bouncing off the clouds and picked up by the antenna. So yeah, let's try. I'm going to start without the reverb, just so you can hear some stuff. When I turn up my volume, I've got things already kind of going on, and so hopefully we're going to hear a couple of different radio stations blended in on top of each other. Pretty good. So here's the filter switch. And then all these other ones, here, I'll turn that down so we can actually hear what I'm saying. The other switches are pretty severe in what they actually do. They're sudden, so that's good in many ways, because if you aren't getting signal, just flip switches until you find something that's working. Another thing that I think is great is that you can use these performatively, so you can actually flip switches in the middle of a show or a recording and get different textures and switching back and forth, and you can play them rhythmically and that kind of thing. I really like to take the clips and play the antenna, like jiggle them around or move them back and forth or any of that kind of stuff to actually do some performative things. But you don't have to. You could literally set it up, turn it on, walk away, and let it do its thing, because it's going to ever change and have full ranges of incoming sounds that are not necessarily anything you could expect or control, which is the point. That's why it's the Messeiver and not the receiver. Okay, so let's literally, I'm going to just start clicking around, see what we get, because you never know. And I'll slowly test different things, and then I'll turn on some reverb and show you how much fun it is to add in the effects. So that's the ground, and after the ground brings buzz. Ooh, and that picked up a whole new channel. So, well, I don't have anything connected up here. Let's see if that... So it's just not picking up anything at the moment. That's not always, definitely not always the case. So let's go back to where we were. Actually, I'll leave that there.
Moving on, the World Cup final for just the second time ever, and a match against the Argentina are in Sunday. Today, 2-0. Spain earned every bit of that victory. 42 is And Labs Messeiver for U.S. limits national scene player, Alex Krieger.
Había conocido a alguien como tú. Ay, eres el amor de mi vida. Pero si nos conocimos ayer, es que ya te amo. Quiero todo contigo. Cada vez que pues te amo los 2 días por la semana, ¿no?
A third station.
Una vez que nos buscamos, digo, pues es que ya nos hablamos de amor. Ya es una definición de baseball.
Pero puede ser el día.
So the cacophony is pretty great right there. Let's turn on the reverb unit and add that in.
Have done just that with
Luego la persona cuando ya te tiene bien agarradita, empieza a hacer tus cosas felicitando. Pero ¿cómo te das cuenta que no están echándole conmigo? Estos regalos muy constantes que cuestan caritas.com, o sea, porque se ve puro halago. De que, oye, ¿por qué no me cachas a 70 dos? No acepto una por respuesta. No hay límites personales. Eso es lo que yo digo, porque yo digo, porque yo quiero, porque soy yo. El amor de tu vida. Y punto, y se acabó. Enséñame el celular, te lo voy a revisar de eso es lo coming, está de moda. Hoy en día, si el amor no respeta tus tiempos, límite, se desea que te presentes.
Se le llama tóxico.
No porque intenso puede ser nada más malo. No porque te enamora, te enseña una vida perfecta y después te
So much fun. Okay, I wanted to point out one little thing was, I don't know if, again, if you can actually see my hand, okay, you can see the alligator clip all right, but I'm not touching anything. I'm literally moving the alligator clip in around between switches, and that was actually getting me stronger signals from different stations until I, like when I got up and like tapped one of the switches with the antenna, like right before it or right when I touched it, it gave me different signals that it wasn't getting from the ground. The ground was just giving me buzz. Then that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's going to change every time, which is, again, part of the excitement. So yeah, you can do different things. I would suspect you can do things with multiple antenna, perhaps. And these antennae are really long. I'm going to say they are maybe 50 feet each wire. And then my ground wire is also a good like 60 or 70 feet. So between the three of them, I have a pretty extensive amount of reception possibilities, I would say. The manual gives a suggestion for ways to set up your antenna, and then they don't really say anything about anything other than testing them, like find something, that works, kind of an idea. But my thought is it's also a means to shift the way the reception comes in such that you can actually perform with it. I feel like the antenna can be performative if you play around with them, especially if you're okay with noisier stuff, because it will give you scratchy, glitchy, harsh sounds as well as cool overlays of tangible sounds. And by tangible, I mean, broadcast things that people are expecting to hear from local radio stations, or vice versa. Now I'm in Texas. I'm in Texas. I don't know if you can hear that, y'all. I'm picking up a local station. I believe it's 102.7, which is a Spanish Mexican station, and I believe I'm also getting a local the college radio station, which is also the public broadcasting station, and they sound like they've got like some news or something going on. But sometimes I pick up other stuff, like I pick up China, or I'll pick up a Russian station, or I picked up an Australian station one time. And another thing I do is I have some cymbals that are just from a drum kit, regular old brass cymbals, and the other end, I've put the other end of the antenna on those cymbals and put the cymbals around the house to get some different signals. And I'm not sure if they particularly act as like a dish of some description, but it seems to give me different things. So I try it with everything. Anything that's metal or any configuration I can mess with gives me different stuff. Now this, of course, is a studio kind of thing. There are portable versions of this type of circuitry, but the Messeiver is a sizable unit, not necessarily portable in terms of moving it around itself. However, I did mention earlier it's got a battery pack or a pedal, 9-volt center positive. I believe it's center positive. I'll check on that too. Maybe put that in the description. But it's something that it's a plug that works with pedal boards, so you can still take this with you, and you don't have to have the you don't have to be latched to a cable or something like that. But it is a little bit sizable, and it is something that's not necessarily something you're going to run around stage with or always put in your travel gear, because you do have to make room for it. But it's possible, and I would definitely say one thing I've done is put it in my car and driven out of town to try and hear things elsewhere using the lighter socket in my car to drive, with adapters, the correct adapters to drive the Messeiver, and there you get a whole world of different stuff. And today was particularly lucky. It was raining and cloudy and nightmarish outside for anybody that wanted to stay dry. But inside with the Messeiver, everything's fabulous. It really helps the conditions for that. Okay, I'll be quiet now. This is something that I absolutely love. I think Soma Labs did such a great service to give us this super duper fun, tasty tool. And like I said, there are a couple of other people that make them as well, but they make smaller, like PCB only versions kind of a thing, which are still useful. And I have actually one of those coming in the post, so we'll probably talk about that, maybe do a comparison between it and this. But for now, we have the Messeiver, and it is fabulous. So I'll stop there for today. Thank you for watching. If you want to check out other stuff, obviously there's SeesarMusic.com/gear, and there's my IG, my Instagram is Seesar_music and Seesar_gear. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.